The last time I saw my family, my father pointed to the door. "If you leave this house, do not come back," he said. "We only support winners in this family." I was leaving for community college after dropping out of my fancy university. My mother cried, but she didn't stop him. My older sister, Jessica, just smirked. I was the disappointment, the ugly duckling who couldn't swim with the swans. I grabbed my single suitcase and left. The door slammed behind me, the sound final, like a coffin closing. For 2 years, I heard nothing from them. They blocked my number. I was completely alone. I rented a tiny room above a noisy laundromat. The constant hum of dryers was the soundtrack to my new life. I worked 2 jobs, one at a diner in the mornings, and one as a nighttime stalker at a big box store. My hands were always sore. My feet ached. But I was free. I was also terrified. But I knew I could never go back to their perfect, cold world. In my few free hours, I didn't rest. I taught myself to code. I used an old laptop I bought for $50 from a pawn shop. I spent nights learning programming languages. I survived on cheap noodles and coffee. It was a lonely life. But every time I wrote a line of code that worked, I felt a spark. It was a small light in the darkness. I was building something, even if no one else could see it yet. I was building a future for myself. My big break came from a place I never expected. The owner of the laundromat, an older man named Arthur, saw me coding one day. "What's that, kid?" he asked. I explained I was building a simple app to help small businesses manage their laundry services. He grunted. A week later, he handed me a check for $5,000. "It's an investment," he said. "Don't make me regret it." I stared at the check, my hands shaking. It was the first time anyone had ever believed in me. I quit my jobs. For the next year, I lived on that money and worked day and night on my app. I called it Clean Start. It was a scheduling and payment system for laundromats and dry cleaners. It was simple, but it worked perfectly. I sold it first to Arthur, then to the laundromat next to his, then to another. Within 6 months, I had 20 clients. The money started to trickle in. Then it started to flow. I moved out of my tiny room and into a small apartment. One day, a large tech company noticed my app. They saw its potential for all kinds of small businesses. They offered to buy Clean Start from me. The offer was for $2 million. I almost fell out of my chair. I signed the papers with a hand that wouldn't stop trembling. I was 23 years old and a millionaire. I had done it. I had proven my father wrong. But they still didn't know. They still thought I was a failure flipping burgers somewhere. I allowed myself one luxury, a personal stylist. I had always been the ugly one next to my glamorous sister. I never learned how to do my hair or makeup. The stylist, a wonderful woman named Chloe, taught me everything. She gave me a modern, sharp haircut. She showed me how to apply subtle makeup that highlighted my features. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a confident woman staring back. I didn't see an ugly dropout. I saw a successful CEO. A year after the sale, I was running a new, even bigger tech startup. I had a team of 15 people. We were developing software for people with disabilities. My life was full and happy. But a part of me still felt that old ache. The little girl who wanted her parents to be proud. I found out through an old family friend that my sister Jessica was graduating from law school. The ceremony was in 2 weeks. My family would all be there, celebrating their golden child. I made a decision. I would go to the graduation. I needed to close that chapter of my life. I needed to see them one last time, not as a beggar, but as an equal. As someone who had succeeded without their help. I bought a ticket and a new, elegant navy blue dress. I didn't plan to make a scene. I just wanted to be seen. I wanted to stand in that crowd and know, in my heart, that I was enough. The day of the graduation was bright and sunny. The university campus was swarming with happy families holding flowers and balloons. My heart hammered in my chest. I spotted them immediately. They were in the third row, my father tall and stern, my mother clutching her purse, and Jessica in her cap and gown looking bored. They looked exactly the same. I found a seat near the back, hidden by the crowd. I just watched them. The ceremony began with long, boring speeches. I listened as the dean talked about the future and success. Then, he announced a special award. The annual Innovation in Business Award, he said, goes to a young alum whose tech startup has shown extraordinary promise and positive social impact. He started describing the winner. He talked about a revolutionary app sold to a major corporation. He talked about new software helping the disabled community. My blood ran cold. He was describing my company. He was describing me. This wasn't part of my plan. The winner is a proud graduate of our own community college extension program, the dean continued. Please give a warm welcome to Ms. Brooke Evans. The air left my lungs. That was me. A spotlight swept over the crowd. I was frozen in my seat. Everyone was clapping, looking around. I saw my family's heads turn, curious. They had no idea. I took a deep breath and stood up. I began to walk slowly toward the stage. The spotlight found me and followed my path. I walked down the long aisle. I kept my eyes on the stage. I could feel hundreds of eyes on me. Then I saw them. I saw the exact moment my family recognized me. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's jaw dropped open. Jessica's face was a perfect mask of shock and disbelief. They stared at me as if I were a ghost. I gave them a small, calm smile as I passed their row. I didn't stop. I kept walking toward the stairs to the stage. I climbed the steps. The dean shook my hand and handed me a beautiful glass trophy. The applause was loud in my ears. He gestured to the microphone. A few words, Brooke? I hadn't prepared a speech. I looked out at the sea of faces. Then my eyes landed on my family. Their expressions were a mixture of pure shock and dawning horror. I leaned toward the microphone. My voice was clear and steady. It didn't shake. Thank you, I began. They say success is the best revenge, I said into the mic. But I don't believe that. I think silence is. The silence of working while everyone sleeps. The silence of believing in yourself when no one else does. I paused, looking directly at my parents. 2 years ago, I was told I was a failure. An ugly college dropout. I was told to never come back. So I didn't. I found my own path. This award isn't my victory. My victory was surviving long enough to earn it. The audience was completely silent, hanging on my every word. I saw my mother start to cry. My father looked down at his hands. Jessica just looked furious. I used to think I needed my family's approval to be worth something, I continued. I don't need that anymore. My worth was never in their hands. It was always in mine. To anyone out there who has been told they're not good enough, remember, your value isn't their decision. It's your creation. I stepped away from the microphone. The applause that erupted was thunderous. It was the loudest, most sincere sound I had ever heard. I walked off the stage, the heavy trophy in my hand. I didn't look back at my family. I didn't need to. I had said what I needed to say. I felt light, as if a weight I had been carrying for years had finally been lifted. I was free. I was heading for the exit when I heard my name. Brooke! Wait! It was my mother. She was hurrying after me, her face streaked with tears. My father and Jessica were following slowly behind her. Brooke, we had no idea, she stammered, reaching for me. I took a small step back. That was the point, Mom, I said gently. You never asked. You just judged. My father finally spoke. His voice was rough. The app, that was you? The 2 million. I nodded. Yes, the ugly dropout is a self-made millionaire. Jessica finally found her voice. It was shrill. You humiliated us. You made a scene on my day. I looked at my sister, this stranger I had grown up with. It was never about you, Jessica, I said. It was never a competition for me. You were the one who always needed to win. I just needed to survive. I turned to leave. Brooke, please, my mother begged. Can we talk? Can we fix this? I looked at their faces. My mother's desperation. My father's shame. My sister's anger. I felt a deep sadness, but no anger anymore. The anger had burned out. I don't know if it can be fixed, I said honestly. You didn't just abandon me. You tried to break me. The bridge between us wasn't just burned. You blew it up. I've already built a new life on the other side. I handed my mother a simple business card. This is my number. The ball is in your court now. I walked away from them. I didn't look back. I got into my car and drove away from the campus. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. I felt complete. The hole in my heart that they had left was finally filled with my own pride and self-respect. That was a victory no one could ever take from me. I drove to my favorite quiet park and just sat for an hour, watching the ducks on the pond. A week later, a letter arrived at my office. It was from my father. His handwriting was shaky. Dear Brooke, it began, I have failed you as a father. I was so focused on a certain kind of success that I became blind. I am more proud of the woman you have become than I have ever been of anything in my life. I do not expect your forgiveness. I just needed you to know. Love, Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer. My mother started calling. I didn't answer at first. She left long, tearful voicemails. She apologized over and over. She said they were in family therapy. She said they were trying to understand why they had been so cruel. I finally answered on her 5th call. We talked for an hour. It was awkward and painful, but it was a start. A tiny, fragile seed of a new relationship. I told her I needed to take things very, very slow. Jessica never contacted me. I heard from my mother that she was still bitter. She felt I had stolen her moment. Some people never change. And I learned that it's okay to let them go. You can't force someone to be happy for you. I focused on my new company and my new friends. I built a family of my own choosing, filled with people who cheered for my success, not people who saw it as a threat. They told everyone I was a failure. They said I was nothing. But I wasn't. I was a seed they had thrown onto concrete. They expected me to wither and die. Instead, I found a tiny crack in the pavement. I pushed my roots deep into the darkness, and I grew. I grew until I was strong enough to break the concrete. I grew until I reached the sun. And now, I am a forest. And no one can ever cut me down again. If you've made it this far, you understand. My worth was never defined by my family's harsh words or their rejection. They called me an ugly dropout and cast me out. My silence during those hard years wasn't failure. It was my weapon. My patience was my power, fueling me as I built a life they never could have imagined. If this story of rising from nothing resonated with you, share it. Share it with anyone who has been made to feel invisible or worthless by their own family. Tell them their dreams are not foolish. Their resilience is not pride. Their survival is extraordinary. Your story is still being written. Subscribe for more journeys about finding your strength and writing your own triumphant ending. The revolution begins the moment you realize, like I did, that your worth was never missing. It was only waiting for you to claim it. Have you ever had to prove your worth to a family that underestimated you? Share your story in the comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe.